In the past, ViewSonic has always impressed with its range of monitors. Starting with the VX2709 at the bottom of the price range at 10,000 rupees, we were impressed with the amount of value that it presented. Going up to the XG2431, the 240Hz monitor also impressed. It was a great esports monitor that had low motion blur and excellent picture clarity. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the ViewSonic XG2709. This monitor is a strange one to say the least, and we'll get into why. Starting off, the XG2709 is supposed to be a 27-inch monitor that targets the budget category, but at 14,000 rupees, I think there are already plenty of alternatives around the 24-inch monitor segment. This tries to break that 24-inch monitor segment with a 27-inch option, but unfortunately it fails to succeed in most of the parts where a monitor is supposed to be good. As a high refresh rate monitor, you would expect great motion clarity, and for the most part, the XG2709 does deliver, but the biggest failure in this monitor comes from its color reproduction. Plugging it into any system, we noticed that colors were extremely saturated and we couldn't really fix this. We upped the brightness, we did everything we could with the settings, but things never seemed to look quite right. And upon further inspection, we delved into the product sheet, and looking at the data sheet, we understood the problem. So while every other monitor at this segment uses 6-bit plus FRC color, which is not the issue, this panel itself had a lot few colors than the others. So for example, the VX2428J had 80 million colors, while this has 50 million colors. And that's where the problem became very apparent. So when dealing with dark scenes, everything tended to be a little too dark and a little too bright. There was nothing in between. The monitor supports 2 HDMI ports and 1 display port connector with a 3.5mm audio out. While the monitor does have its drawbacks, one of the best parts of the entire package is actually the monitor stand. This monitor stand is very versatile, coming with height, tilt, and swivel adjustments. That being said, the monitor is pretty solid on paper with HDR support, MPRT, and 104% sRGB color space coverage. But that somehow doesn't translate into real-world usage. The 180Hz refresh rate on this monitor is greatly appreciated, but the fact that it carries the XG branding is something that doesn't make sense to us. So for comparison, ViewSonic offers the XG2431, which is a phenomenal 24-inch monitor which has great Blurbusters 2.0 certification, amazing motion clarity, and is all-round probably one of the best esports monitors you can get in around the 22,000 to 24,000 rupees price range. Carrying that XG branding over to this doesn't really make sense. This monitor is clearly not cut from the same cloth as the XG2431. The pricing is expected to be around 14,000 rupees, which is what we're hearing at the time of shooting, but at launch it could be slightly less. So unless this is around 13,000 rupees or so, I'm not sure if we could recommend this monitor as is. To sum it up, on paper, this monitor is fine. It's got a large screen, it's got a high refresh rate, it has FreeSync, it has HDR, and it has a peak brightness of 250 nits at ideal conditions with just a white background. But it's when things get into the nitty-gritties of consuming content or playing games that have high dynamic ranges where this monitor falls short. If you're gonna play casual games or you're just about getting into PC gaming, then sure, I guess you can go for this monitor. But at this price range, I would recommend taking the hit in terms of size and going for the VX2428J, which is infinitely superior at the same price point. That's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe to gossip.gg.